Okay, there's this idea in the background that I've mentioned that more and more of the Christopher Steele Trump blackmail dossier is accurate. And you'll remember that when we initially heard about this Russian blackmail file, as it's been colloquially called, the position from Trump and his associates was the dossier doesn't exist. Well, then we learned that actually the dossier exists, that both Obama and Trump were briefed on the dossier by the American intelligence community, but that the content of the dossier is all fake. And of course, it turns out that actually a lot of the content of the dossier is true. There's a really good document on the Just Security website by John Sipher. Kind of a funny name for someone who writes on a security website whose last name is Sipher.
Oh, like Decipher?
Even though it's spelled differently, Sipher. John Sipher is a former CIA senior intelligence service operative, and he did something really interesting. He went back and reviewed the Russia dossier, not in the context of what we knew when it leaked, but based on what we now know. And you'll remember that at the time that the dossier leaked, defenders of Trump insisted it's unproven, it's speculative, it's unverified, it's rumors, it's gossip, it's fake, it's irresponsible to even discuss it. But over time, over the last several months, we've learned that more and more of the content of the dossier actually is true. And Sipher points out some really important elements that we should keep in mind. Number one, when you produce this type of document within the intelligence community, you're not delivering it to people on the basis that the contents are 100% accurate. You're delivering it on the basis that these are assertions that are out there. These are things that have been alleged. And then you consider each statement. You consider the credibility of the author, in this case, a highly respected former British intelligence operative named Christopher Steele. And over time, we've learned that so much of what's in the dossier is true. Before it was publicly acknowledged, the reports that served as the base information for the dossier alleged that Russia undertook a massive coordinated effort to disrupt the 2016 election to help Donald Trump. That's now the consensus. Very few now deny that. Reports that make up the Steele dossier alleged, with pretty specific facts, issues related to meetings involving Paul Manafort and Trump affiliates with Russia to discuss stolen documents. That turned out to be true. The dossier alleged that Trump had long-standing involvement with Russia, including to explore business deals. That turns out to be true. The reports alleged that Trump campaign associates had repeated contact with senior Russian officials in the year before the election. We now know that to be true. We learned that when Carter Page traveled to Moscow in July of 2016, he met with Igor Sechin. A later Steele report also claimed that he met with other Russian associates, and we've since learned that those assertions are true. The documents referred repeatedly to all the money that Paul Manafort was getting off the books from the Ukrainian president's pro-Russian party, for example. That's absolutely true. The documents alleged that there were meetings between Trump's lawyer Michael Cohen and Russians. That was initially categorically denied by Cohen. We've since been able to independently corroborate relationships with Russian and Ukrainian intermediaries and Michael Cohen. And we've learned about Michael Cohen's direct contact with Felix Sater via email to try to do a Trump Tower Moscow. Every day or week, more of the dossier is verified.
And that's not to say that the Christopher Steele dossier is free from inaccuracies. There are a few, but it doesn't take away from any of the major points, and it's not like Steele was trying to deceive. Very credible source. And I mean, some of that's just inevitable when you talk about intelligence reporting. You're never going to get it completely accurate.
And for me, the most interesting thing from John Sipher's analysis was anybody who is going to point to any inaccuracy to say the entire thing is unreliable or untrustworthy doesn't understand the point of such a document. It's to report on assertions that have been made, not necessarily having verified every single one. And listen, does Trump have a urine fetish involving Russian prostitutes? Maybe not, although, by the way, John Sipher says it wouldn't be that inconsistent with what we know about Trump's sexual past, including stories he's told on the Howard Stern show. But it doesn't matter. That does not in any way impact the general credibility of the dossier.
Trump also knew that the Obamas slept on that bed once when they visited Russia, so maybe he just wanted to defile the bed and doesn't really have any sexual interest to begin with.
I would not even dare comment on that, but I think anything is on the table as far as that goes. And a really, really interesting read, which we are linking to, John Sipher's explanation or analysis of the Russia dossier, in the description for the YouTube video for this story. Okay, send me your thoughts. I'm on Twitter at @dpakman. The show is on Twitter at David Pakman Show. Today's program is sponsored in part by Live Lingua, which is an immersive language learning platform where you're actually learning from native speakers. You might recall, I've mentioned it on the show, I am someone who was born speaking Spanish in Argentina, and I learned English as a second language. I've studied both French and Hebrew as non-native languages, and learning from native speakers, speaking with native speakers is the most effective way to get the language proficiency that you want. Live Lingua will match students with personal teachers to work one-on-one on their language learning goals. No trendy gimmicks, no promises to make you fluent in a month by practicing 5 minutes a day. Live Lingua is an online language immersion school that works with students age 4 to 94. Students work one-on-one with their teachers, meaning there's no falling behind the rest of the class. All classes are taught by native speakers of the language who also speak English, and it costs a fraction of what a private tutor would charge you. No spending time in traffic, commuting to classes. Your tutor comes to you via Skype, and for our viewers and listeners, you can get a free trial Skype lesson by visiting livelingua.com/Pakman. Live Lingua's personal class coordinator will contact you, arrange a lesson that fits into your schedule with the teacher that's best suited to your ability and learning style. And then after the trial lesson, you'll receive a full evaluation and a proposed curriculum personalized to your needs. If you want to continue, Live Lingua's immersive language learning method is convenient, it's productive, it's built to meet the needs of each student. You can visit livelingua.com/Pakman for your free trial lesson.